Ladies and gentlemen, Janet Kuypers is the host of Cabaret Open Mic. That shit has been running for the longest time. Whoa! Billy Joel fan, forgive me. The founder of Stars Publication that runs 2 magazines. I've been in one of them. The website is stars.tv. She has brand new, super emotional poems for the feature tonight. Clap for that. Stop some shit. Yo, you. I got a little battery, so bear with me. From her most recent book, Partial Nudity. Oh shit.
Haikus from that, yeah.
It's been that type of night. There's also music from a live show last month with the Heyman.
The Ha-Man.
Ha-Man from South Africa. So please, give it up for Janet Kuypers!
I feel bad because I want to say, well, I sing too. Everybody's like coming here and singing. And I did stuff with Beast Woman, but I'm like, well, I'm just reading poetry right now.
All right.
But yeah, I have this music all queued up and set up, and I apologize because I wanted to make sure that I had audio that would go along with the music as well. But I think it's nice and quiet here, and I probably won't need it. But we'll see how that goes. So we'll see how deathly loud. How deathly loud I become. Oh, that's not. Is that too loud?
Yeah, it's a lot of feedback.
Okay, John. What do I hit? I don't know these things. The left one?
Yep.
And I turn it down more, and I'm calmer and I'm quieter. Is that better? Okay, that's because I'm being quiet as I'm talking to. But I'm trying to get this thing out of the way. Hi, and I did that just because I've got music from the last live show with the Ha-Man of South Africa when he was in town. And Partial Nudity is the name of the book originally because the cover of it had images of my mammogram from my mammogram scan on it. But it's revealing stuff, so it's partial nudity, whatever. These are brand new and emotional, and I'm going to intersperse poems that I haven't performed with haikus from that book, and I won't even give titles on that one full. So here is the first set. I'm afraid of what I might say, because it may sound like how I feel. Like someone has jabbed a metal pin against the open nerve of the exposed cavity in my rat-like teeth. What does it feel like to read a soul like mine? I don't know, but let me brace you. Rehashing this, reliving this, retelling this, it just might hurt. Go into the haiku. This is called Bruised. I think all feel bruised deep down, but don't think of it until times like these. I've been working and making a point to make my haikus read within 6 seconds so that I can come up with a poetry vine so that I can have repeated 6-second loops of poems. And it's like, I'm going to try to read that in 6 seconds long. But this next one is a poem that I wrote on the day that an American died this year from Ebola. And it is from the perspective of a loved one, and it's called 8 to 16. You came back again from one of your trips to the other side of the planet. You know I love you more than anything on Earth, but I'm getting used to your absence. It's a terrible thing to say, I know, but when you came back this time and said that you had a fever, I figured that you just ingested some of their toxic water and you'd have the stomach flu for days, but then you'd be fine. But then, this time, with your fever, I remember thinking of how you drank the water swimming south of the equator, and I thought nothing of it. You would be clear up in a week, and I'd just hold off on kissing you for a while. But after 8 days, you went to the doctor, told him of your travel and ails, and that's when the doctor called the CDC and the federal agencies swarmed in. After you left for the doctor, the next contact I had was with men in hazmat suits at my door. They asked if I was alone. They asked me if I had any children. Then they asked me to come with them. I told them that I needed to wait for my husband, and they told me that you are now in isolation. After hours, they told me that you caught a nasty virus while you were away on your trip. But I said, oh, wait a minute. He was on a work trip, and his company makes him take a ton of drugs so that he'd be immune to everything and he wouldn't catch anything. And that's when they stopped me, right there. They locked me in a room. They told me I couldn't leave. And then they said that he caught a bad strain while helping a woman he found on the street, pregnant, bleeding, and in pain. It took them 2 days to discover the details before they gave me the news. He's in isolation. We're trying new treatments and hopefully he'll be okay. But I know of this virus. It's usually lethal, so please, let me see him now. And that's when they said, sorry, it's out of our hands, but you must be in isolation too. So I screamed at the medics, all to no avail, as they swore I had to stay safe. So I paced in my isolation. I watched the drive-by media, and I heard them say stats that death from this virus can take from 8 up to 16 days. 8 to 16 days. It was 8 days before I even went to the doctor. I mean, could this waiting actually do him in? I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't see his face. I couldn't kiss him or tell him that I loved him. That I'll always love him. That I'm nothing without him. The morning of the 5th day, still trapped in isolation. That's when they told me he died. My blood work was clean, but they had to keep me in isolation while they said that they would cremate my love. And all I could think was, after you're done, send him to Arlington National Cemetery so the world will know he's a hero to more than just me, since you made me wait until he died. And still, I continue to pace, trapped in this room, alone, with nothing to wait for, ever again. There I go with my emotions, holy cow, and to have emotion to go into a haiku, this is called fog. You don't get music for this. Fog envelops me. It's a thick, powerful force that doesn't let go. Guess what? You're going to get more emotional stuff, I'm sorry, but as I said, these are new pieces, and that's not supposed to play. I had to make sure this is queued up properly. I wrote this after the visitation and funeral of my father-in-law about 3 weeks ago. That's all. Looked into the coffin of a man who was once great. At least that's what I hear. But the cancer ravaged him until his bones crumbled to dust. The family then wondered how the people at the funeral home would make him look like him. And the family walked into that room and they held their breath for more reasons than death, more reasons than their last viewing of the man they lost. Now, once again, looking like he had meat on his bones. When the services started, we all had to follow the Reverend's laments by all periodically proclaiming, "Lord, have mercy." The man with the collar would talk, and I would wonder what it would be like to hold the job of applying makeup to the dead. Try to make them look not so dead. Puff up the cheeks, apply face paint to give them color. Lord, have mercy. Beforehand, a string of older firemen came to us before the coffin with small black bands over each of their badges. When the fire station started, before they even had a fire station in the town, he used his red truck with ladders tacked to the sides and a trailer to haul a barrel of water. Lord, have mercy. The man with the collar started a hymn, and everyone in the small town knew the lines and sang along like little lemmings. And I try to remember the lines from my childhood that I have no reason to say, except when people need something, anything, to make them think that their life doesn't have to end. Lord, have mercy. The man with the collar reminded the room that people were created for life, that death was not a part of the plan, but stifle the overwhelming desire to caress the one you loved. Now in a coffin, for the coldness would be too stark a reminder. Lord, have mercy. I wanted to try to look into the coffin from a different angle. Maybe then the deceased would look more real. Maybe then I wouldn't see his lack of hair from the chemo gone wrong. Maybe then I wouldn't see his hands clasping rosary beads. Lord, have mercy. I remember the string of people wanting to meet us before they proceeded to the coffin, which reminded me of a procession of people waiting to congratulate a bride and groom immediately after a wedding ceremony. But in this macabre receiving line, all of the funeral attendants were repeatedly saying to us, "I'm sorry for your loss." And I wonder how many times the man in the coffin had to say those words in his line of service. How hollow those words were when he spoke them, when the words then seemed so stifling. And I think of how people say this when nothing can express how anyone is feeling, especially when people don't even know how to feel anymore. Lord, have mercy. The chants now ended. The Knights of Columbus stopped their constant repeated prayers to the painted man in the coffin to help us justify a pain we don't know how to deal with. Lord, have mercy was all I could think, but not to call a higher power, but to give empty words at an empty time with too many injustices in this living death scene. We're all players in this charade. Making up death in a way that we want to believe is not ghoulish. That's what we keep telling ourselves, unless we choose to ignore the macabre while unsettled lives are still all around us. We mourn or cry, and we try to fit this all into the pieces, into the puzzle of our lives. And for those who believe, and even for those who don't, these words seem to be the only fitting words to think or feel. Lord, have mercy. Now we're going to change the theme, so I have to do my death theme. I'm sorry. Good thing I wasn't wearing all black. But of the topics that you've got in that chapbook, you have either death stuff or stuff that relates to sex or attraction. So this, sorry, this, I'll start with a haiku and I'll go into a poem, but here they are. This is called Pant. Waves are crashing and the moon's phases are changing to a rhythmic pant. This is called Violent Affair. How one-sided is a violent, passionate, sexual affair? Is it a small metal boat tied with a long rope to the dock, living to react to the tide, trapped there, pounding against that ocean, alone? Then, with the tide rushing in, seeping out, rhythmically, waiting for that tide to rush it to the shore, see for that damn rope holding it back, then being taken away again to do it all over again. Spending its time held back and waiting, then almost being turned upside down by that rush, then recovering and waiting for it to all happen again. have to end on the haiku called translation. And thank you all very much. This was only a translation for trauma. I don't have the words.